After a mysterious faint, Elena wakes up in an unknown realm. How will she face the challenges ahead? Where is her mate Liam, and will they reunite? Want to follow Elena's adventure and uncover the secrets behind her coma? Subscribe to our channel to never miss a twist. Chapter 42 Theo POV. I looked at Elena as she walked down the stairs looking as if she was looking for someone. She looked worried. Hey, so I started, but I don't think she even noticed I was standing here. I continued to watch her as she got to the kitchen. I heard her ask Grandma and Nana about Jackson. Something is wrong with her. She walked back upstairs and went into her room. I went back into my room and continued to get ready and put my suit on just as Madeline entered the room again. You look beautiful, I told her as I went up to her and kissed her. Girls, put your dresses on. It's almost time, said my min, causing Madeline's eyes to widen and go slip on her dress. We all walked out and lined up like we were supposed to, and I saw Elena was alone. I raised an eyebrow at her, wondering where Liam was. I was about to walk towards her and ask her what was wrong, but my name was called for me to enter. Finally they called her name, and I was about to walk towards the stairs to receive her, but I saw Liam was with her. But she looked upset, they both did. Finally they got to the bottom and they both gave a fake smile for the picture and walked towards my grandma as they would be the ones to dance first. They both looked very upset, but even though they were both upset, you could still see the love they had for each other from the way they were looking at each other. The dance was over and he walked away from her as she just stood there and watched him walk away. I raised an eyebrow at that. I was about to walk towards her, but my beautiful mate asked to dance. So we did. After an hour of dancing and me being with Madeline, I noticed Elena was nowhere to be seen and Liam was with the princess of the fairies. That caused me to get mad, so I kissed Madeline's forehead and told her I'd be back. Where is your mate? I told him with a raised eyebrow. I saw him look around and saw worry on his face as he didn't see her either. I rolled my eyes and walked around trying to find Elena. I looked outside as she always goes outside for everything. And what I saw had my blood boiling. There on the wall of the castle was a note. We got her D. He took her, I said through the mind link as I started pacing around getting more and more angry. Soon everyone had ran out here. What do you mean he took her? Roared my dad angrily. What's going on? Did you find her? Asked Liam as he walked out looking around. What was going on with you and Elena? I yelled at him. It doesn't concern you, he growled, starting to get mad. It does concern me. Elena is gone, I yelled at him. What do you mean she's gone? He roared as he was now mad. I mean you were too busy with that Heart丨pay attention to your mate and she was taken from right under our noses, I yelled at him. Fuck, he growled as he punched the wall. I saw him mindlink someone and soon 15 of his warriors were out here. Find her, he growled at him. All he got was a bunch of yes alpha as they all took off and were now searching for her. Nick had also sent out 10 warriors who were also looking for her. He had it all planned. This is why he hadn't attacked, said my dad as he held my crying mother. My grandma was now using a tracking spell to try and find her, but had no luck. They must have a witch on their side. I can't see her, she said as she started to get angry. Soon all the warriors walked in and shook their head as they put their head down. Fuck, roared Liam. Anything at all? He asked angrily. We had it, and then it just stopped, said one of his warriors. He ran his hand through his hair as he looked panicked. Chapter 43 Elena's POV. I woke up as someone slapped me across my face. My head turned to the right and I moved my jaw as it was in pain. I fully opened my eyes and looked around as I was in a cell. I went to cover my nose as it smelt so bad down here. But my hands were tied up. Finally I heard. Really, Derek had to ruin my night. Couldn't wait till the next day or something, I asked him with a raised brow. What can I say? Had to make my appearance today, he said as he looked me up and down. I looked at him with disgust as he continued to look at me. I looked down and realized I was no longer in my dress, but in a plain white t-shirt. Fit me like a dress but was too revealing. Oh Elena, the fun we will have, he said walking out. I looked around and saw there was a tiny window behind me that just showed the moon. Fuck, I said as I started to get tears in my eyes. Are you okay? I heard from the cell in front of me. Yeah, I'll be fine, I said as I gripped my head. My head was pounding from whatever it is they used to knock me out, and then the slap to the face didn't help. I looked up as I heard her move. She had moved closer to the door. When I saw her face, you gasped. Oh my God, why you? I started, but I was in too much shock. I could not believe my eyes. Your eye started but was cut off as Cecil entered. You bitch, I'm not even surprised, I said as I rolled my eyes. Shut it, Elena, you're my little bitch now, she said as she brought in some torture knives. I started to freak out a little inside as I knew what was coming. This bitch would not hold back. But of course I would not let her know how I was feeling. She came closer to me as she swung the knife at me and made a cut through my chest, ripping part of the shirt in the process. She had coated that knife with everything that would hurt me, and I just sat there emotionless. That's for that day at the castle, she said as she stabbed my leg with the knife and dug it deeper and wiggled it. After that she walked out and left me there to bleed. Now that she was gone, I let a couple tears escape because of the amount of pain I was feeling. Are you alright? Asked the girl in front of me. I had completely forgotten she was there. Yes, I'll be alright, Freya, I told her. How do you know my name? She asked, now intrigued. Everyone thinks you're dead, you know, I told her as I sat up a little more and bit my lip at the pain that went through my body. Yeah, I figured, it's been years, she said, sighing. But how do you know me? She asked. Liam, I said as I let out a sad smile at the thought of him. You're his mate, she said sadly. Yeah, I said with tears in my eyes. Poor Liam, I can't imagine how he feels, she said with worry. How did he take it? She asked quietly. Not good from what I've seen, I told her. Oh Liam, she said, I'm a hybrid. I have vampire blood in me. He didn't take it well. Said if he was with me he'd be betraying you, I told her quietly. What happened? She asked. Well, it wasn't good at the beginning. He actually rejected me, I told her. Oh my God. Thank you for giving him another chance, she told me. Yeah, we actually didn't end well. He was mad at me when I got taken. And I'm just scared if I don't make it out of here. That's how he would remember me, I told her quietly. Chapter 44, Elena's POV. From what I could tell, I've been here for a week. Every day it's the same thing, torture all day till I pass out. But not once do I yell. I will not satisfy them by hearing me yell. Elena, baby, said Derek as he opened my cell door. I'm not your baby, Derek, I spat at him. I saw anger flash through his eyes as he punched me across my face. I spit out the blood I had in my mouth as I could not stand the taste. Freya, darling, it's your turn, he said as he walked out and locked my cell. Derek, wait. Don't hurt her. What you're going to do to her, do it to me, I told him as I did not want her hurt. She's been here long enough and I will help her get out. Say less, he said with an evil smirk. No, wait. Leave her alone, I can handle it, she said as she started to panic. Derek, I yelled as he looked back at her. Sorry, sweetheart, but I need Elena, he said as he pulled me up and dragged me out. Elena. She yelled after me. He took me to a room that had a doctor's chair type thing and shoved me in it. Oh, the things I could do with you, he said as he licked his lips and looked me up and down. Mature content, sexual abuse. Read at your own risk, I'll tell you when it's okay to read. Come here, he said, as he dragged me to the edge of the chair. He pulled on my shirt and this was the only time I fought back. Derek, wait, don't do this, I begged as he spread my legs open. I tried my hardest to close them or push him off, but he was too strong. I fought back, but it was no use. I was too weak. The more I fought back, the more he'd hurt me. As he took advantage of me, he had a knife in his hand and would run it across my skin, leaving the trail of blood behind. I watched as this man took advantage of me, and as the blood dripped down my body, and all he did was grin. He was happy. If you skipped, you may now read. When he was done with me, he dragged me back up and down the stairs to the basement. I could not walk. My whole body hurt. I felt disgusted. How would Liam ever want me again after this? Derek has left scars on me. How will he want me now? That wasn't so hard now, was it, sweetheart? He said as he threw me in the cell. I fell to the ground in pain and just laid there. Elena, I heart Freya call. But I just ignored her, too weak to say a word or to even move. A couple hours had passed of us in silence. We need to get you out of here. Liam needs you, I told her. How are we going to get out? She asked me. I can get you out, I just need enough strength to, I told her quietly. And how will we do that? She asked. I need blood, it should heal me enough to get you out of here, I told her. Us, you mean us, right? She said. Yes, us, I told her. But I would not be going, I was only strong enough to teleport her. And I'm going to get her as close to them as possible. But with how weak I currently am, I know I might not be able to teleport her all the way to Liam. With that, I drifted off to sleep to try and make the pain I was feeling go away. I woke up to a banging noise. They were pulling Freya out of her cell. What are you doing? Where are you taking her? I asked as I slowly stood up and got closer to the cell door. To see Derek, said the man. Stop, take me, I told him. Boss didn't ask for you, he said as he continued to drag her out. Wait. Derek, I yelled out to him, hoping he would hear me. Yes, darling, he said with a smirk as he came in. Take me, I told him. You're too weak, he said. No, I'm not, I can handle whatever, I said. Bring her, he said as he walked out. The guard shoved her back in the cell and grabbed me out and harshly pulled me up the stairs. Elena called Freya. It's okay, Freya, I told her as they shut the door. They had taken me back to the same room I was in before, and he started hitting me and torturing me in ways I didn't know were possible. You are so strong, Elena, said Derek as he continued to use my body as a canvas and cut on me, leaving his marks behind that will forever remind me of this day. I had lost so much blood that I slowly felt myself start to lose conscious. I thought I felt weak before, but I had never felt this weak and helpless in my life. And with that thought you drifted off and let the darkness consume me. I woke up back in the room. I was laying in the middle of the cell. Elena, oh thank goddess you're okay. Please, you have to stop doing this. Liam would never forgive me for this, she said as she looked at me. And he'd never forgive me, I told her weakly. Elena, please, I've been here way longer, I can handle it, she said looking at me sadly. I'm okay, I told her as I forced myself to sit up and sit against the wall. I winced as I felt a shock go through my body. Elena, here, I heard, causing me to look up. I saw the blood dripping down Freya's arm, causing my teeth to come out. We need to get out of here, she said, pushing her hand out as far out of her cell as she could. I knew I had to do this, I had to get her out. If Liam didn't have me, at least he'd have his twin sister. I know that would get him to feel better and possibly forget about me. And teleporting her without teleporting myself would be the first time of me trying this. And hopefully I wouldn't mess up, because who knows where she'd end up. I crawled closer to the cell door as more blood started pouring out. I somehow was able to get the blood and soon began drinking. Elena, she said as she started getting pale. Sorry, I said as I felt myself get a little stronger, but I knew it still wouldn't be enough for both of us. It was either me or her. And I couldn't leave her here. Not again, Liam needed her. Chapter 45. Elena's POV. I reached out for her hand as I looked at her for the last time. She had the same eyes as Liam and the same dimples. Sometimes looking at her eyes was too painful, so I mostly avoided looking at her in the eyes. Okay, are you ready? I asked her as I gripped her hand. Yes, we need to get out of here. Liam is waiting for us, she said looking hopeful. Okay, when teleporting you might get nauseous or dizzy, and that's completely normal, okay? Just close your eyes and breathe in. I told her, gripping both her hands. Okay, let's go, she said looking up at me. And for the last time I looked up and made eye contact, imaging it was Liam's eyes I was looking into. My eyes started to water as I looked at her. I closed my eyes and imagined her in front of her house. Elena. I heard Derek yell as I heard her running towards me. I opened my eyes and she was gone. But my hands were still out and he stepped on my left hand, causing me to for the first time let out a scream as I did not see it coming. You stupid whore, he yelled as he slammed the cell door open and grabbed me by my neck, choking me. How did you even do that? He yelled in my face angrily as he added more pressure to my neck. As I started to lose conscious, he let go and pulled me out and up the stairs by my hair. I was finally able to breathe properly, but the air was once again knocked out of me as he slammed me on the floor. You will pay for this, you stupid whore, he said as he started whipping my back. He extended his claws and clawed down my back. He continued on with the torture as he talked about how I was going to pay, and how he was going to make sure I gave him a child. As soon as he was done with me, he dumped me back in the cell, and this time I did not have Freya to talk to and distract me from the pain. Cried I missed him. But now I knew he would be fine. He would have his sister, so he could finally be happy. I just wish I could see his face when he sees her. I smiled as I imagined his happiness in knowing his sister, who was supposed to be dead, wasn't. I was in so much pain that I started feeling nauseous. I rolled up into a ball and decided to drift off into the darkness as I felt the bile start to come up. I started thinking about him, and soon after I was out and dreaming with him. Chapter 46. Freya's POV. I was free. After years of being locked in there, I was free. I started to cry as I fell to the ground and touched the grass and took in a big whiff of nature. Elena. We made it out, can you believe it? I said as I turned behind me. Elena. I asked as I looked around, panicked. No, I said as I realized she wasn't here. She never planned on coming, I should have realized sooner. Elena, what did you do? I asked as tears started running down my face. I looked around and finally noticed I wasn't in front of my house. I spun in circles trying to figure out which way to go. Go straight, I heard my wolf say weakly. I did what she said and I just kept walking. I had been walking for around 2 hours when I came around a familiar-looking tree. I saw my name and my siblings' names on the tree and I knew. I started running as fast as my weak body could take me till I was right in front of the door. I stood out there just waiting to ring the doorbell. What do I say to them? They think I'm dead. I heard someone yell. And I looked up to see that the door had been opened and there stood Madeline. A much older Madeline, that is. How she stuttered as I heard people running. What's wrong? I heard Liam's voice as he ran towards her. He hadn't noticed me yet though. He was checking her, making sure she was all right. Until finally Madeline looked back at me, causing Liam to look at me as well, and the shock on his face was evident as he fell to his knees. I quickly ran to him and fell on my knees as I hugged him. He hugged me back and cried. How? I don't understand, he said as he hugged me tighter. I finally looked at his face and I could see the dark bags under his eyes, and he was very pale. Probably due to Elena have been taken. Oh Elena. What will I tell him? How do I tell him his mate sacrificed herself to get me out? I heard someone let out a loud gasp, causing me to look up, and there stood my parents looking at me with shock and tears in their eyes. Mom, Dad, I said as I ran to them as fast as I could. Freya, how? Said my mom as she cried. Elena got me out, I said quietly. What? I heard Liam say. He came towards me as he heard his mate's name, and the sadness was evident in his face. I could also see guilt for some reason. You met Elena? He asked sadly. Yes, I did. She has such a beautiful Elena. She helped me out, I told him sadly. Where is she? Did she come with you? He said, looking out the door. As she just got me out, I thought she was going to be coming with me. But she was too weak, and with the little strength my blood gave her, she got me out. She teleported me as close to here as possible. I told him sadly as he looked at me. He ran his hands through his hair aggressively as he paced around. Baby, let's get you to your room. Let's clean you up and get the pack doctor to check you out, said Mom as she pulled me up the stairs. But all I could do was look at Liam. Feeling bad I was here and not his mate. After a long shower and the doctor checking on me, my other brothers and sister came in and cried as they saw me. And I once again told them what happened. Oh Elena, said Sophie as she cried. She was such a caring person, I told her as I got tears in my eyes. She always puts others' happiness before hers, she said sadly. After getting some food, I went to the office as I was going to give Liam as much information as I could remember about the place. Liam, I whispered as I opened the door and saw him sitting by his desk looking at a bunch of maps. I need to get her back, he whispered. I know. I will help you, I told him as I hugged him. Chapter 47, Elena's POV. It had been 2 weeks since I helped Freya escape, and since then things got worse. The beatings got worse, now they did it more. I was at a point where I would happily accept death. I wanted to give up, especially since I started feeling worse. They started feeding me less and I was throwing up constantly. I missed him. Oh, what I would do to see him one last time. I know he's happy to have his sister back. Maybe that would help him forget. I felt the bile rise back up as I heard the whip, and as soon as I heard it, it hit my back. At this point I had so many scars on my body that I knew I looked horrible. I could feel the claw marks he left me 2 weeks ago. I could feel the fire burns. I could feel the cuts on my face. What is wrong with her? He asked angrily as I got weaker and weaker. Sir, I said, the poot girl as she looked afraid to even talk. Spit it out, girl, he yelled at her. I think she might be pregnant, she said quietly, causing my eyes to widen as I began to panic. No, this couldn't be. How could I ever face Liam like this? He just looked at me with a raised brow as he looked back at her and told her to check if I was. I began praying that I wasn't. What would I do if I was? How could I ever face anyone? She made me pee in a cup as she did the test. As the test beeped and walked Derek. So, he asked, she's pregnant, sir, she said. And just like that everything stopped. I felt my heart stop. I could hear my ears ringing. I wanted to die. How could I possibly face anyone? What would he think of me? Derek smirked as looked at me and down at my stomach and nodded and walked out. I sat there in shock. Goddess, why would you let this happen? I said as the sob I had been holding in escaped, and soon I was crying. I cried because I knew everything with Liam was over. He would never want me like this. Now I was just a damaged Elena. Nothing to the person I once was. I was soon dragged out the room and placed in my cell carefully. Now they all knew I was pregnant. It had now been 6 weeks since Freya left and 6 weeks from when I found out I was pregnant. All I felt was pain. The pain of knowing I was carrying someone else's child and not Liam's. And once again it was another day where I cried myself to sleep, a cycle that has been repeated every day of this hellhole. And soon I drifted off to sleep. Chapter 48, Elena's POV. It had been 2 months since I found out I was pregnant, and I was currently getting checked. "Everything all right in there?" asked Derek from beside me. I just looked at the wall, not wanting to see the screen which was showing the baby inside of me. I heard a gasp causing me to look towards the screen, and there on the screen showed 2 babies. "She's having twins," said the girl. "Oh, Elena. You did good," he said with a smirk. Said the girl, causing him to get mad. "Spit it out," he said angrily. "It's just that it shows that these babies are." As she stuttered. "They're what," he said angrily. "They are older than 2 months," she whispered. "W," he yelled. I looked at her shocked and then looked at the screen shocked. These were mine and Liam's babies. "Ours. You fucking whore," he yelled as he threw me against the wall and started punching me and yelling at me. "Did you know these bastards were his?" he yelled in my face. I just stood there in pain as he stared at me. "Answer me," he yelled as he pulled me from the wall and slammed me back on it harder. "And no," I said through the pain. "Take her back," he growled out as he threw me on the ground and stormed out. "I'm sorry, are you okay?" asked the girl quietly as she ran to me. "I'm fine," I gritted out through the pain. "Why are you here?" I asked her. "I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time and they saw me and took me," she said sadly. "Here, let me help you get back into your room," she said as she helped me up and brought me back to the cell. "I'm sorry," she said as she locked the cell door. "It's okay," I told her. And finally it all clicked. These babies were mine and Liam's. We were going to be parents. For the first time since finding out I was pregnant, I held my stomach and cried happy tears. I had to get back to Liam, and for once since being here I had hope. After a while he stormed back in and looked at me and stormed towards me and started beating me there on the spot, and this time he did it with such anger and purpose that I didn't think I would see tomorrow. And after finding this out, every day he would beat me in that same corner, but he would never touch my stomach, for some reason, and it scared me. And every day it was the same. Me passing out from the pain, waking up and repeat. I could feel myself slowly slipping away. I would have if it weren't for these babies inside of me. I had to get them back to Liam and made sure they would be okay. Chapter 49, Liam's POV. It had now been 3 months since Elena had been taken, and I don't know what to do anymore. We had been searching for 3 whole months and we had not one clue of where she could possibly be. It was all my fault. If I hadn't acted the way I did with her that night, they wouldn't have snatched her right in front of us. She didn't deserve the way I treated her that night. My sister also came back, and I owe it all to Elena, all that she has done for me. When Freya got here, she told us all that my Elena did for her. And getting her back to me and knowing she would be stuck there just shows what a kind Elena she has. And I need to get her back, I have to. "Liam," I heard my mom say, causing me to look up. "Yes, Mom," I said with a sigh. "Baby, you need to get some rest and eat something," she said as she put a plate down in front of me. Who knows if Elena was getting any food? What gives me the right to eat? I could barely feel her anymore, which made me more mad. I could not lose her. "Mom," why I started but was cut off as someone came in and slammed the door open. "We found her," said my warrior. "Where is she?" I asked as I mind-linked everyone to get their weapons and to say their goodbyes as we would be leaving as soon as everyone else got here. "She is in a old-looking cabin. It's 3 hours from here. And it was hidden with a spell," said my warrior. "It seems to have an underground basement of some sorts, and we believe she is in there." "Alpha," said my warrior as he looked around nervously. "Okay, go say goodbye to your family and be back in 20 minutes, I told him. Liam. "Slow down, breath," said my mom calmly. "Mom, she's been found," I told her as I hugged her close. "Where is this?" said a voice as the door was slammed open in a rush. "She is 3 hours away. According to my warrior, it was hidden with a spell, and that's why we couldn't locate her," I told Theo. "Okay, is everyone ready?" said Nick in a serious voice. "Yes, are all your warriors ready?" I asked as I looked down at my mom, who I just realized I was still holding on to. "Okay, son, we are all ready," said my dad as he walked in and hugged my mom. "Okay, let's go," I said as I rushed out. "Liam, be careful," said my mom as she held my face and pulled me in for one last hug. "I will, Mom," I told her as I kissed the top off her head and walked out toward the yard where my warriors and the warriors from Elena's pack stood. "Okay, lead the way," I told my warrior as we all shifted. I let out a loud howl, letting Elena know wherever she was I'd be getting her soon. Soon we were on the way, for 100 of us running in a group, me, Nick, and my warrior at the front, and my dad and Elena's dad right behind us, and the rest of the warriors behind them. I broke my promise to her again, and I hope she can forgive me. I will protect her with my life. I just hope I'm not too late. I'm coming, baby. Chapter 50 Elena's POV. I was tired, my whole body ached. At this point I don't think Liam was coming or anybody. It's been 3 months since I got taken and have been here ever since. The pain of the beatings got stronger as I got weaker. I prayed to the moon goddess to save my twins. Ever since I teleported Freya out of here I've wondered if she made it home. I hope to have at least gotten her close enough to know her way back. Well, said a voice causing me to slowly look up. The big bad Tribid doesn't look so big and bad now, said Cecil. Fuck off, I whispered through the pain. That wasn't very nice, she said as she started doing the mind thing she always does, causing me to let out a scream. The pain feeling unbearable at my already weakened state. You are such a little bitch, you couldn't do this when I was at full power. I asked her through the pain. I saw her face then with anger, knowing I hit a nerve. She pulled the door open and came at me, and started hitting me with some of the weapons Derek had left by the door. I could feel the blood running down my body, the pain becoming too much. As I felt myself lose conscious. You will pay for this, Cecil, I told her, spitting out the blood from my mouth. If you and those bastards make it out, she said with a laugh. You've always been such an insecure bitch, always wanting more and more. But that shit will catch up to you, Cecil. And you will pay for everything you ever did. I will make sure of it, I told her. She just looked at me angrily. She rushed to the weapon table and grabbed a knife. Then came at me and stuck it in my leg. I jerked up, causing the knife to go in deeper, the blood flowing at what seemed a very slow rate. I swear, Cecil, you will pay, I gritted out through the pain. She just walked out and slammed the door shut, and pulled at it to make sure it was locked and walked back up the stairs. When I saw she was finally gone, I looked down at my leg that now had a knife sticking out of it. I didn't know whether to pull it out or leave it in. But more and more blood was pouring out. This is how the great powerful Tribid would die, to a knife in her leg. I began to rub my stomach, and felt my babies move for the first time, causing me to smile and start crying. Oh, my babies. Our babies. Are you coming for me, Liam? Chapter 51 Liam's POV. We were a couple feet away from the house Elena was in, watching to see if we could see any movement. All of a sudden we heard a branch snap behind us, causing us to turn around ready to attack. Freya, what are you doing here? I asked her angrily. I came to help, she said, coming out of the woods with some more girl warriors. Freya, why? I started but was cut off by my sister. Liam, I had to. I have to help her like she helped me. I need to help her, she said, starting to tear up at the memories. You stay by my side the whole time, do you understand? I told her sternly. I will, she said. I turned back around as I felt the 3 warriors I sent out to search the area come back. There's some people guarding and we can see more around the building, some inside as well, said my warrior. Okay, we can't give them a chance to alert anyone. So Freya, Jason, Sabrina, you know what to do. Make sure it's at the same time, I told them. They all nodded and I saw as they each grabbed a bow and some arrows, each picking out a person. I saw as they each aimed and made sure they were aiming correctly, and saw as they each nodded their heads as they all aimed and hit all 3 at the same time, not giving them a chance to warn the others. I nodded at them, telling them they did a good job. They moved to the other 3 who were on the other side, and saw them go down as well. They made sure all the guys were down before coming back to us and giving me a nod. I gave everyone directions as we all split off into groups of 5. It was me, Theo, Freya, Elijah, and Justin. And everyone else went their own ways and surrounded the building. Some went in through the back as we were going on through the front. As soon as we walked in, we noticed this building wasn't much but an illusion. Inside the small cabin was a huge old abandoned building. This changed our plans because we thought we were going into a small cabin, but it's a huge building. If it weren't for our numbers, we'd be screwed. I quickly mind-linked everyone, letting them know the small cabin we see from the outside is only an illusion. More people went inside, all of us going down a different hallway. 5 minutes in, an alarm started going off, red lights flashing everywhere. Looks like they know we're here, said Theo. We went down the hall looking in every room for my little Elena. Door after door and still nothing. I came across a room that faintly still had her scent and looked around. I noticed all the blood around and a puddle specifically under what looks to be a torture chair. I felt my heart clench at the sight, knowing this was her blood. I quickly got out of there and began searching as I was now extremely mad and was on the verge of shifting. I came across 2 men and I just quickly snapped their neck, not caring, and continued on my search, completely forgetting about everyone else that was with me. I made turn after turn, leaving more bodies behind, just wanting to get to Elena. I was half-shifted, which for other people would be very scary. But it was normal to me. I finally rounded a corner and saw 5 dudes standing around. I quickly killed them and left one injured. "Where's the girl?" I asked through clenched teeth, staring down at him, picking him up by the neck and holding him against the wall. He looked at me with wide eyes, seeing the beast before him who just killed 4 of his friends in a blink of an eye and not one scratch. "Where is she?" I yelled at him. "She," he said, gasping. I dropped him and waited for him to catch his breath. "Down the H-hall, turn L left, then take a R-rig," he started, but I snapped his neck and continued on my way to find my beautiful Elena. "Pathetic," I whispered. At this point I was running down the halls trying to find her. I finally came to the hallway the man had said, and I could smell Elena, causing me to speed up. I rounded the corner and opened a door that led me to some stairs. I quickly went down the stairs and followed her scent to a cell door. I got to the cell and there sat Elena. My beautiful Elena. I saw her slowly look up at me from looking at Theo, who I just realized was in here with her. I saw relief cross her eyes. Theo went to pick her up, and she winced, causing me to finally look down at her body, the sight causing me to fall to my knees. Chapter 52, Elena's POV. I was staring at the wall, just imagining myself being somewhere else rather than in this cell, when the door was slammed open, causing me to flinch hard. The movement caused pain to go up my body and up my leg as the knife was still in my leg, deciding it was best to leave it in there so I wouldn't bleed out. My whole body was in so much pain that I felt numb. I was past the point. "I'm slowly giving up." "Theo," I whispered through my dry lips. "Elena," he yelled as he fell down at his knees in front of me, trying to get the chains off me. "Theo, why you're here?" I whispered. I felt tears start to pool in my eyes, feeling relief through me. My babies would be okay. I looked behind him and saw no one was behind him. I stared at the door waiting for Liam to run through the door. But it never came. The tears rolled down my face. He wasn't here. I winced as he finally got the chains off my wrists. Although they were big enough to where I could move my hands around, they were tight. I hugged him as best as I could, not having the energy to raise my hands up and hug him. "Elena, I'm sorry. You were taken right in front of us. I'm sorry it took us so long to find you. We never stopped looking. They had this place well hidden." He rushed out with tears in his eyes. "Theo, it's okay. I'm okay," I whispered. "Elena, look at you." "No, you're not," he said, looking down at my beaten, bloody, bruised body. "You're here now, so I am okay," I whispered. He continued to look down at me. I looked down and you could see myself in a huge crew neck that was ripped up. It was like having a blanket wrapped up. It was so big that you couldn't see my growing stomach. I had cuts and bruises and blood going down my leg. Can't forget the knife sticking out of my leg. "Elena," he started but was stopped as you could hear the door upstairs once again slam open as you heard the footsteps of someone running down the hallway. Theo quickly stood up ready to fight whoever was coming down the hall. When I looked back at the door I realized it was Liam. My beautiful Liam. He did come. He does care. I let out a sigh of relief as I now knew he did come for me. I saw him fall down to his knees as he looked at me. He looked at every part of me, seeing all the things on my body that weren't there before. Everything except my stomach. I watched as a tear fell from his eye. Watching me carefully, then his eyes met with the knife on my leg. He quickly rushed to me and kneeled right in front of me and looked at the knife, then at me. "I need to pull it out, okay?" he whispered so softly I almost didn't hear him. I just nodded, lost for words. Theo took off his shirt and ripped it, making it longer. "Come here," he whispered. He held me in his arms as we looked at each other, then looked at Liam, who was looking at me with so much sadness and guilt. I just nodded at him as I leaned my head on Theo and closed my eyes. He quickly pulled it out, causing me to gasp and bite my lip hard so I wouldn't scream. As bad as I wanted to, I knew it would make Theo and Liam feel worse. I opened my eyes and saw the blood quickly pouring out. This is what I was scared of. Theo grabbed his shirt and wrapped it up tightly around my leg, the shirt quickly turning red. I winced, the numbness I felt before long gone now. I could feel every pain going through my body, from the knife wound to the cuts on my arms and legs, and from my burning skin that they had burnt. Liam picked me up, sparks shooting up my body and everywhere he touched. I let out a sigh as I leaned on him, relaxing a bit. We got out of the cell and after turns and more turns we made it to the front. I could see dead bodies all around the grass that was once green now red. I tensed up once again, making sure none of those were ours. And from the looks of it, none were only some injured. I gripped onto Liam without realizing it as he stopped all of a sudden, tensing up. I could feel him panic as I looked up at him and then looked to see what he was looking at, and there stood Freya, surrounded by 3 wolves way too big for her. I felt him start to shake and panic even more, looking at me and then back at her. I finally made eye contact with him and gave him a nod, tell him it was okay for him to go. Go, Liam. She needs you, I whispered through the pain. He quickly but gently sat me down next to a tree as he turned into his wolf and sped off. I watched as he sped off but was too late. One wolf had just stuck a blade through her and pulled out. Blood was pouring out of her stomach as she fell down to the floor. Liam quickly killed the wolves and noticed her down on the ground bleeding. He fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. I quickly got up as best as I could, using the tree as support. Everyone stopped, staring at Freya, who was now on the ground bleeding, trying to hold on to life. I gritted my teeth, biting on my lip hard as well as my whole body ached, not being able to hold it up from all the pain it was feeling. As best as I could, I walked towards Freya, knowing what I had to do, and knowing damn well what it would cost. But for Liam I'd do this and more. Chapter 53. Elena's POV. I walked towards her as best as I could. I know I was walking really slow and limping, but time slowed down. I felt like I was walking in slow motion towards her. Time slowed down. I know what was about to happen. I touched my belly one last time. I prayed up to the moon goddess as she knew what I asked of her, begged of her. Elena, I heard Theo's panicked voice yell. But I ignored him as I knew he knew what I was about to do. I continued to walk towards her, sucking in the pain. I could now feel everyone's eyes on me. After what felt like hours, I finally reached her, and I felt as my brothers ran towards me, trying to stop me from doing what I was about to do. I put my hand up, stopping them from moving, freezing them. All they could do now was stare and watch what I was about to do. Elena, please, said Nick. As I got to Freya, I looked behind me and looked at my brothers and my dad, who was beside them. I just gave them a smile as tears started to fall. I whispered I love you as I turned back around, but not before I turned to look at Theo one more time to see his anger and sadness. I finally looked at Liam, who was a few feet away. I looked at him. I looked at his eyes, his lips, his hair, everything about him. I gave him a small smile as I dropped down to my knees, hard, hurting myself more in the process. I looked down at Freya to see her looking up at me with tears in her eyes as she held on to her stomach. She shook her head no, but I just smiled down at her and told her she would be okay. Elena, and no, she whispered. It's okay, you will be okay, I whispered as I pushed the hair out her face. Elena, what are you doing? I heard Liam's panicked voice ask. I looked up at him one more time and gave him a small smile. The tears were pouring down my face now. I moved her hand slowly, not wanting to hurt her more. I placed my hand over her wound as I took in a breath. Elena, he yelled, but I ignored him. Stop, he yelled again. Baby, please stop, he yelled and started running towards me, finally realizing what was about to happen. But I did to him the same thing I did to my brothers, and he fell to his knees as he looked at me through his tears. I looked to the side and looked at Theo before opening my mind link. They will be okay, I told him through the link. Who will be okay, he asked, but I cut the link. I knew that I was too weak to do this. I knew I wouldn't survive. The energy from this and then the pain that it's going to bring me. I will not survive. But my babies will. I know she will make sure they are okay. That's the only reason I'm doing this, because my babies will be okay and Freya will be okay. Even if I'm not. I looked up at the sky, praying to her one more time. I took one last breath as I began. My eyes slammed shut as I felt it. I felt it pouring in through my veins. I started to feel the pain. I started to feel what she was feeling. I started to feel the wound coming onto me, causing me to shake at the pain I was feeling through my body right now. I could hear Liam screaming at me to stop, but I couldn't. He would not be okay if he lost his sister. He already lost her once. He'll be okay without me. The pain became unbearable. As I started to shake more and I bent forward as I continued to heal her. I opened my eyes and looked down to see if I was almost done. I continued to heal her as I felt myself slipping away. But I had to heal her as much as I could so she could survive. Elena, I heard Liam cry out. And all I could do was cry from the pain, cry from knowing this was it, and cry because I knew that I would never get to see my babies or know what they were. I looked up at Liam as I knew this was it. Our eyes connected and I whispered I love you before I felt myself take my last breath and saw Liam slowly disappear. Chapter 54, Liam's POV. As soon as I realized what Elena was doing, I tried to stop her. I saw her walking towards Freya and I knew I had to stop her. She was too weak, she was going to hurt herself. Or much worse, get herself killed. Elena, I called out to her but she ignored me. I saw her look at her brothers and right there I knew. She was saying goodbye. I started running to her but she did to me what she did to her brothers and froze me. She made sure I wouldn't move. I watched as she took a breath in and she started shaking from the pain. You could see it in her face. All I could do was call out to her, hoping she would stop. But I know her. And my Elena always puts others before her. I saw her shaking more, she was trying to scream but she couldn't. It was like she was so weak she couldn't even scream. I cried out to her as I saw her look up at me, our eyes connecting. She whispered I love you before I saw her falling back, her body hitting the floor. I felt the spell being lifted and I ran to her and fell down beside her as I grabbed her and pulled her to me as I hugged her and cried. But she was limp in my arms. I looked down at her and saw how pale my baby had gotten. Her face was also thinner and covered in cuts and bruises and some scars. My beautiful Elena still looked gorgeous. I brought my hand to her neck to feel for a pulse and felt a faint one. I had hope she could not be gone. We needed to grow old together, have kids. And watch our kids grow and watch them find their mates and have their own kids. I gripped her tighter to me as I cried, the ache in my chest getting unbearable. I had a huge empty hole in my heart. I picked her up as I felt my heart breaking at how light she felt. I looked over to see my brothers with Freya. I made sure she was okay before going to the witch who would teleport us to our pack hospital. I nodded at her as she grabbed me and soon we were in front of the pack doctor. I ran inside as I looked for the doctor. He saw me and quickly ran to me and showed me what direction to go in. I carefully laid her down on the bed as he pushed me out the way as nurses started rushing in. Somehow I ended up outside the room. All I could do was stare at the ground as I felt the tears rolling down my cheeks. I heard people rushing and causing me to look up. It was all of her family and all of mine. My mother came up to me and hugged me as I cried. I could see her mom and sisters crying, and even my sisters were crying. I saw the doctor come out from a different room I was just in. Freya is completely fine, there is no permanent damage. She should be up in a couple hours, he said. What about Elena? I heard Madeline ask. We are still working on her, we will be out as soon as we can, he said before walking back in with Elena. I ran my hand through my hair, pulling the ends of it. What would I do without her? I still need to apologize. I never got the chance to apologize. We all looked up as the doctor came out her room, with a bothered look. What's wrong? Asked Celeste. She was pregnant, he cautiously said. And right there in that moment my heart stopped, I suddenly couldn't breathe. I heard many gasps around me, and I heard as people started to cry. Is the baby okay? I asked. The babies are fine, I don't know how but they will be okay, said the doctor. Babies? Asked Elena's mom. Yes, she's pregnant with twins, he said. Next thing you know the monitor flatlines in the room as doctors start rushing in. I try and go after him to see her to make sure she's okay. But I get pulled back, all I feel is hands on me as I start seeing red. The pain I currently feel is a pain I've never felt before. I feel like a piece of my heart was just ripped out. Let go of me, I growl out as my wolf has now come out. I fall to the ground gripping my chest, scratching at it, not knowing what to do to get rid of the pain I was currently feeling. The doctor comes out, head bowed as he shakes his head and looks up at us sadly. I'm sorry, we tried everything we could, he whispered sadly at the loss of his queen. As soon as those words left his mouth, Odysseus took over and shifted and ran out the hospital doors as he let out a pain-filled howl. How could this have happened? I failed her. Our babies. I failed them too. I failed her as a mate. Instead of loving her like I was supposed to at the beginning, I rejected her. I caused her pain and pushed her away. And even after everything she still gave me a chance. And I failed her again. She got taken. I had promised her I would protect her. And I let her get taken right under my nose. I ran through the woods and went onto no man's land where I knew there would be rouges. And I killed everything in my path and felt no remorse. I was seeing red, I felt pain and anger. She's gone, whispered Odysseus. She's gone, I whispered back. Chapter 55 Liam's POV. I walked into her room and saw her laying there, looking really pale. How could I have let this happen? I was supposed to protect her. I walked up to her and reached down to touch her. I felt her cold face, which was covered in bruises and cuts. My beautiful Elena. I looked down at her stomach. now realizing she had a noticeable bump. How did I not realize this when I first saw her? I placed my hand on her stomach, feeling her bump, feeling my babies. Our babies. I let the tears slide down my face as I fell to my knees beside her, still holding on to her. Why did you do this? I whispered to her through my tears. I need you, I whispered. I pulled a chair up to her bed and sat by her bed holding her hand, as I leaned on it. I must have fallen asleep because next thing I know someone is clearing their throat. Alpha, I heard someone say. I sat up and noticed the doctor was in here with her family now. I looked at her sisters and they were still crying as well as her mom. But her brothers on the other hand emotionless. But I knew better. So we examined her, and she has a couple broken ribs, she has a fractured arm. And her leg had a blade through it. She has a lot of scars, bruises and cuts on her body. He said looking at all of us. All I could do was look down at her. And from what we can see, she was raped, he said looking at all of us. My head swung in his direction wondering if I heard him right. But from everyone's shocked face I could tell I didn't hear him wrong. I felt Odysseus try to come out. We were both mad sad. That our beautiful Elena had to go through that. I gripped the side of the bed, it being the thing holding me back from shifting and tearing everything up in this room. But the babies are his right, said Asher. I narrowed my eyes at him for even asking that question, wanting to tear him up for even saying such thing. Yes, from how big the babies are we can tell that they had been produced before she got taken, he said looking at me. I let out a sigh thanking the goddess that these babies were in fact mine. Here comes the confusing part. As you can see she's still on the monitor. But she's in a coma, and from what it looks like she's not waking up. Seems like she's just alive for the babies. But she's gone, he said the last part quietly. They will be okay, whispered Theo. What? Everyone said as she told me that. Right before he stated quietly. She said they would be okay, he said again. That makes more sense, she must have made a deal. Said her grandma as we all looked down at her. So is there a chance she could come back to us, asked her dad. I don't think so, from what it looks she will only stay like this till the babies are born, then she will just. Said the doctor. I have hope. I have hope that she will wake up. I have hope that she's not fully gone. Chapter 56 Elena's POV. I opened my eyes and noticed I was on a hard yet soft surface. I slowly stood up into a sitting position and felt around noticing I had just been laying on grass. I got up and felt around my body noticing I no longer was in pain and my bump was gone. I was wearing a long white flowy dress that flew with the wind every time it would blow. I placed my hands on my now flat stomach wondering what happened and where I was. I felt a tear run down my face, finally looking around and noticing I was in a field in the middle of nowhere. There was beautiful flowers all around me and further away I could see some trees and a big mountain behind. Child, you're here, I heard an angelic voice say behind me. You, I said as I turned around. Yes, me, she said letting out a laugh. I turned around and bowed, making sure to still show her respect. There's no need for that, child, she said. I started but stopped as I felt tears start to come down my face. Yes, Elena, your babies are okay, she said looking at me. Okay, thank you, I said quietly as I bowed again. But the tears just started pouring harder at realizing I would never meet my babies. What about Freya, I whispered. She is also fine, my child, she said. Okay, I said. You have such a beautiful Elena, hence your name. You knew what would happen. Yet you did all that for Freya and your mate. And also you knowing you wouldn't get to meet your babies, she said looking down at me sadly. He's worth it all, I said looking up at the clouds. It's time I tell you your story, she said as suddenly we were in what looked to be a white room with a throne and another one right across from it. Sit, she said as she sat in the bigger one. I walked across her and sat on the throne that was across her. Many, many years ago I created 2 warriors that would help me and protect the supernatural world from all evil. A boy and a girl. But they happened to have fallen deeply in love. Their love was so powerful that it made them stronger and more powerful. Their love was like no other. It was so strong that when they passed I couldn't just let that love in them die, so they would come back. And they would always find their way back to each other. Every time they came back their love would be stronger and more powerful, she said as she looked around. Elena, that couple was you and Liam. Y'all are my warriors. Y'all always found your way back to each other. Y'all are the chosen ones. Y'all are destined to be together. She said. He's your destined mate. She said looking at me. But I don't understand, if you say this then what happened with us this time? I asked her. My sister is what happened. She's been messing with you too and trying to keep y'all apart. That's why I told you not to give up on him, she told me. It's kind of too late for that, I said, looking down as I felt the tears start to come back. It's never too late, Elena. Did you forget who I am, she said with a little smirk. I started, but I didn't know what to say. Just know that there will always be people trying to get in between the two of you. You just have to be strong and ignore it all. Especially my sister, she's working with someone, I just know it. But you're my warrior, Elena, that's why you have all these special powers. Just remember that. And tell Liam what I just told you, she said with a smile. Wait, so I will be able to go back? I asked as the tears started pouring again. Yes, Elena, y'all are meant to be. You two still have a whole life ahead of you, she said as she came up to me and hugged me. Now you need to go back, they need you. Just remember you will be fine, I will protect all four of you. Just go help them, okay? You are stronger now. She said, help who? I started B. She kissed my head and soon everything around me started disappearing. Chapter 57, Liam's POV. It had been 1 month and 15 days since we got Elena back. She was still in her coma and showing no signs of waking up. But I still had hope. I was in there with her every day, and with our babies I always talked to them and told them about my day. The babies were now 4 months old, almost 5, and getting bigger and bigger. I just wish I was enjoying this with her. Everything had been calm up until now. There was a lot of suspicious movement around the border. Everyone thought Elena had passed for some reason. But until she woke up I would not say anything. Alpha, we are getting attacked, said a panicked voice through the link. On my way, I said as I kissed Elena on her forehead and kissed my babies. As soon as I got outside I shifted and ran full speed towards the border. I saw hundreds of wolves now, even some vampires fighting us. I was so confused who sent them. But these vampires seemed to be under a spell. Almost like they were cursed into being here. The more we killed the more seemed to come out. I had already contacted our allies letting them know what was going on. Soon there was so many that I don't think we could keep this up. Many of my men had gotten injured. I let out a sigh of relief as I saw our allies arriving and helping. But that seemed to cause more and more to come out. Where are they coming from, said Nick as he was fighting someone beside me. I don't know, the more we kill the more seem to come out, I told him as I snapped the neck of my current opponent. Soon we were all in a circle slowly getting surrounded, making me confused on how many were actually here. We had already killed so many. Soon I was surrounded. Elijah and Asher helped, but as I killed one, another jumped on me, catching me off guard. Struggling to get him off as he scratched me and took some skin with him. After that he was thrown off me. What the I started, but as I looked to see who had done that I saw my beautiful Elena. Elena was awake. And she looked so much better. She had a scar here and there, but she looked beautiful. Elena. I heard behind me. My God, I heard again. I watched as she took a breath and closed her eyes and lifted her arms up as roots flew from under the ground and wrapped around the enemies' necks and killed them instantly. Next she was sending fireballs towards the vampires, killing them all. I just looked at her in awe as I watched how smoothly she used her powers. Soon most of the enemy pack was dead. But soon someone was walking out from deep in the forest with a cape on their head covering their face. When she put her cape down I was not surprised to see who was behind it. I'm just surprised she actually had the balls to do this. And from Elena's face she wasn't surprised either. She almost looked happy to see her. But not a good happy. The video is about to end, but Elena's story continues. Don't forget to subscribe for exclusive content in the next chapter.